Here's how I set up my H11 SSL. First, I put on the cooler. Tightening the screws requires that the top of the cooler be removed, which is removed with 2 screws. The power delivery is not as straightforward, but is attainable by using an ATX power supply. The CPU that I chose only has an 85 watt TDP and does not require a second ATX power input. Figuring out which slot to put the RAM in only required looking up a guide online. There was an anomaly where it said I had 56 gigabytes of RAM, but when I booted up the OS there was only 32 like I had installed. Later I would find out that I could not turn on IPMI through the BIOS, neither could I overclock the CPU. The simple answer of how I was able to get my IPMI working was to change the port from failover to a dedicated port. The process of figuring this out took more than 2 days, so please allow me to elaborate on this. In the beginning, I believed all I needed to do was change the BIOS and give it an IP and then look it up on the internet browser and find the IPMI webpage. When that didn't work, I looked to Supermicro's website and saw that they had a program called IPMI View and IPMI CFG. The IPMI Viewer tool didn't give me any useful information to diagnose this. It only gave me that it was not able to find it on the subnet. Then I went looking about whether my router was the problem. I'm using the settings in Ubuntu that allows me to share the internet through one computer. Then I found this one post about IPMI not working with green Ethernet ports, which led me down a rabbit hole of looking whether my switch had green Ethernet ports, which it did not. Then I started using CLI tools that directly interface with the IPMI. After looking for the green Ethernet port, I decided to use more CLI tools that directly interface with the IPMI. IPMI CFG from Supermicro and IPMI tools from the Ubuntu apt-get command. I then tried a whole bunch of different commands, and the only ones that seemed to change it were where I had to change the IPMI raw and then add some hex code and then change it to dedicated using the 10. Ideally, what I gained from this was a new trick in learning how to use IPMI through the command line interface. I was able to change the speed of the fans, but I did not have the granular control that I wished.